In a clattering black industrial town in the heart of Yorkshire, over 100 years ago, there lived a certain boy. He was 12 years old, he was an orphan, and his name was Tom. Tom the orphan worked for a brutal man named Saul Grimes, who was a master chimney sweep and a minor criminal. The boy's only real friends were Toby, a mongrel pup, and Wilfred, the donkey who carried all the chimney sweeping equipment. One evening in a foul public house, Tom overheard Mr. Grimes and his crony Damiel Masterman making plans for some villainy the following day. But Tom was too sleepy to take much notice at the time. At 4 o'clock of an uncertain morning, they set off for the country. Mr. Grimes, Mr. Masterman, Tom, Wilfred, and Toby. Officially, their job was to sweep all the chimneys of Hartover Hall, a great mansion in the windy uplands of the Shire. But Grimes and Masterman had other designs afoot. This was the first time Tom had ever seen open fields and animals grazing, great trees and refreshing streams, and he was awed by the beauty of it all. Grimes and Masterman were too tired and drunk to care. On their way down a narrow path, they came across a wizened old hag carrying a bundle of firewood. Grimes kicked her out of the way, and Masterman sniggered to see her sprawling in the wet heather. But when they'd gone, Tom ran back to pick the old woman up. As she rose to her feet, she smiled her gratitude at the boy. And for a second, her face was beautiful. At 8 o'clock, the little party reached the grounds of Hartover Hall. The house had so many chimneys that Tom remarked it would take him a year to sweep them all. They were met at the back door by Mrs. Tripp, the housekeeper, who looked at Grimes and Masterman very suspiciously, then led Tom and Mr. Grimes into the dust-sheeted dining room. Masterman, up to no good at all, lurked in the garden beyond. Then a very curious thing happened. Just before Tom was bullied up the first great chimney by Grimes, Mrs. Tripp looked closely at the boy, and he was suddenly reminded of the old hag he'd helped on the moor. Her eyes seemed to contain a message for him, and the message seemed to be a very difficult one indeed for a battered little chimney sweep to take note of. The message was, "Do as you would be done by."
Up in the morning as another new day is dawning, try to do as you would be done by. Work from dawn till night is near, whenever I grumble all I hear is do as you would be done by. It sounds a little hollow when you're hungry, it's hard to swallow all that do as you would be done by. And when I see the world out there, I'm wondering if it's really fair to do as you would be done by. Stand by your fellow man, treating him as best you can. That's how you say it should be. But I don't know if I should treat the others decently, or should I do as they've done by me now? Do as they've done by me. It's easy in a mansion tall with servants running down the hall to do as you would be done by. But standing here out in the cold, it isn't so easy when you're told to do as you would be done by. Been pushed around from place to place, I've met with cruelty face to face with the do as you would be done by. But should I treat them decently with kindness and humanity, or should I do as they've done by me? Do as you would be done by. Do as they've done by me. Do as you would be done by. Do as they've done by me. Do as you would be done by. Do as they've done by me. Do as you would be done by.
Up into the foul darkness of the chimney Tom scrambled, dislodging great chunks of soot that filled his hair and his eyes and his nose and his lungs. Up and up he went, knowing that when this misery was over, 100 other miseries exactly like this one would be awaiting him. Then Mr. Grimes' muffled voice came floating up, ordering the boy down yet another chimney. Tom began his descent, and then slipped, and fell, and fell, and fell, all the way down the wrong chimney, until, with a great explosion of soot, he found himself in the fireplace of the most beautiful white bedroom he'd ever seen. walls were white, the ceiling was white, the bed was white, and so was the carpet, except where Tom's sooty feet had blackened it. Tom was amazed. He looked around and suddenly started, for directly in front of him was the filthiest small boy he'd ever seen. Then Tom realized he was looking at his own reflection in a long mirror. All at once, someone spoke. Tom turned, and there, smiling at him, was the most beautiful little girl he'd ever seen. Her name was Ellie. And the magical thing was this, that the filthy little sweep's apprentice and the beautiful little squire's niece got on together like a chimney on fire, because they were both orphans. Then there came a great crash. Tom darted out into the corridor and saw that Mr. Grimes had dropped a large soot bag, a bag full not of soot, but of silver, stolen from Squire John of Hartover. Thinking quickly, Grimes picked up the sack and threw it at Tom just as Mrs. Tripp, the housekeeper, appeared. Tom dropped the soot bag, and the stolen silver crashed to his feet. "Stop, thief!" yelled the unscrupulous Mr. Grimes. "Stop, thief!" wailed Mrs. Tripp. And Tom, in terror, leapt out of the nearest window. "Stop, thief!" called Sir John. "Stop, thief!" called Lady Harriet, his wife. "Stop, thief!" bellowed Mr. Sladd, the keeper. "Stop, thief!" screamed everyone else on the estate. "And stop, thief!" squealed Damiel Masterman when he realized what was going on. Toby at his heels, Tom cleared the great wall of the estate and ran like a hare across the great moor. Sir John and Keeper Sladd and every man who could muster a horse mounted and rode after the desperate boy, while Masterman blew his ancient bugle crazily. Soon Tom was being hunted across the Yorkshire moors like a mad dog. Yet all the time he seemed to hear the strange housekeeper, Mrs. Tripp, whispering quietly to him, "Run, boy, run! Run, boy, run!" And how he ran! Now, Ellie was the one person, apart from the real criminals, who knew for certain that Tom had not been stealing the squire's silver. So she saddled her pony and galloped off after Sir John and the rest, determined to tell him the truth. When Grimes and Masterman saw her thunder away, they realized that if the truth came out, they would be the hunted ones. So they made off across country, determined to hide from justice. After a hot and horrible dash, Tom and Toby reached the most dangerous stretch of water in the county, known to all as Dead Man's Pool, for no one who entered it ever came out alive. Sir John and Slad and Ellie were now at the side of the rapids, watching with horror as Tom stood on a great slab of rock with Toby in his arms and obviously about to jump. Slad, the keeper, warned the boy and began picking his own way cautiously towards him. Then Tom caught sight of a mysterious lady in black who somehow reminded him of Mrs. Tripp, the housekeeper, and the hideous old hag on the moor. And she was smiling and nodding to him from the shadows of great trees. Tom licked his lips and looked at the dark waters below. Slad, the keeper, was edging closer and closer to him. Ellie was shouting something to him. But Tom had made up his mind. He jumped! Tom fell and fell through the water. And as he fell, something magical happened. He became smaller and smaller, and cleaner and cleaner, and smaller and smaller, until when he reached the bottom of the pool, he was no bigger than that. And Toby had shrunk proportionately. But although Tom and Toby could breathe very well underwater, which was another piece of very special magic, Tom couldn't swim. He bounced and tumbled and rolled and kept being upside down, which made him very cross with himself indeed. So, seeing his problem, all the underwater creatures got together and, led by a very fine salmon and his lady wife, decided to encourage him to swim.
When you're sinking fast
and you think you won't last,
got to try a little harder.
When you slip and slide, got to swallow your pride
And try a little harder. Never say die, you know you'll get by if you try. Never give in and keep your chin right up high. Come on, a little harder. 'Cause it's no disgrace
When you fall on your face,
got to try a little harder.
though your backbone feels like a conger eel's.
Got to try a little harder. If you're in doubt, you gotta reach out for a friend. Someone to share and help you get there in the end. Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try a little harder.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try a little harder.
When you're sunk so low,
That there's no lower to go. Come on, try
a little harder.
When things are looking dim, get right back in the swim.
And try a little harder. Never say die, you know you'll get by if you try. Never give in, and keep that old chin right up high. Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try a little harder. Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try.
Come on, try a little harder.
Once able to swim and out to sea, Tom and Toby made 3 very good friends. They were Jock, a gruff Scottish lobster, Terence, a soft-hearted seahorse, and Claude, an amazingly courageous French swordfish. And whenever they'd overcome some problem and were feeling particularly pleased with life, what did they do? They'd sing High Cockalorum, which means something like this.
Hey, cockalorum means lots of things to me. A Saturday night in Glasgow with a lassie on my knee. The swirl of a kilt, the magic lilt of a healing pipe and drop. What's really grand, oh, you understand, it's pipe cry up the lum. And with friends along to sing a song and drink a wee chorrum. It's Scots for hey, it's Harmony, it's hey, cockalorum. Hi, 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 cockalorum, hi, cockalorum. Happy to be in your company. It's hi, 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 cockalorum, hi, cockalorum. Friends forever sticking together. Hi, 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 cockalorum. Hey, 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 we're on the way. We're on the way. Now listen, it's what high cockalorum means to me. High cockalorum, it really says it all. It's diamonds and tiaras, it's the Royal Albert Hall. It's a musical play that's terribly gay, it's high society. It's looking your best, being beautifully dressed, it's going out to tea. In the end, it's having friends who I really do adore them. It's heavenly, it's ecstasy, it's high cockalorum. Ooh. Hi, 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 cockalorum. Hi, cockalorum. Happy to be in your company. Yes, hi, 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 cockalorum. Hi, cockalorum. Friends forever sticking together. Hi, 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 cockalorum. Hey, 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 we're on our way. We're on our way. Hey, we're on our way.
We're on our way.
We're still on our way.
I show you my little ones, what it really means to me. I tell you. High Cockalorum is really magnifique. It's camembert, the croix de guerre, it's kissing on the cheek. A French mademoiselle so belle and a lovely Paris night. The flash of steel that's meant to kill, the challenge to a fight. We've 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, why wait for any more? Allez, allez, I lead the way to High Cockalorum.
Hi, 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 cockalorum, hi, cockalorum, happy to be in your company. It's hi, 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 cockalorum, hi, cockalorum, friends forever sticking together. Hi, 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 cockalorum, hey, 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 we're on our way.
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 For some sort of play.
For some sort, what do you say then?
We're on our way.
And on their way they certainly were, to adventure after adventure. But where were they going? And why? The fact is that Tom was a boy with a mission. And the mission was this. He wanted to get back up there to the world above in order to clear his name with Ellie and Sir John. But he'd been told that the only people who might be able to help him were the water babies. Tom simply couldn't get Ellie out of his mind. And Ellie, far away in Hartover Hall, had never given up hope of seeing Tom once more.
Tom, Tom, can't you hear me? Can't you hear me calling you? Tom, Tom, want you near me? Want you near me? How I long for you. Tom, Tom, will I find you? Will I find you once again? Tom, Tom, look behind you. Look behind you and you'll see me there. You run through my dreams. Now run to my side. Come home to my arms. They'll be open
Tom and his friends knew they had to be careful not to be seen by two evil creatures of the deep, a great killer shark and his companion, a deadly electric eel, who were determined to capture all the water babies and take them off to Shark Castle as slaves. But what the friends didn't know was that as they made their way through a sinister sea forest, shark and eel were following them and instructing the forest to hold them fast. The forest obeyed and seized the friends tightly. Soon all they could do was to shout for help, but their cries were heard by Claude the swordfish, who loved a fight better than anything else in the world. Claude saw that the friends were trapped, and he attacked the evil forest in a flash. Nothing could withstand his glittering sword and his ferocious humor. Take that, and that, and that, and how about that? Once they'd escaped the evil forest, the friends travelled on, due south. And at last, after many weary days and nights, they came to the eternal playground of the water babies, where all was happiness and fun and tranquility.
Lulai, lulai, lai, lulai, lulai, lai, lulai, lulai, lai, lai. Lulai, lulai, lai, lulai, lulai, lai, lulai, lulai, lai, lai. Lulai, lulai, lai, lulai, lulai, lai,
But while the friends were peacefully sleeping in a charming water baby cottage, the evil shark and his companion, the vile electric eel, tricked all the water babies but one into leaving the safety of their eternal playground. Then, savagely, Shark drove them off to his terrible lair, Shark Castle, where he kept them enslaved. When the friends knew about this, they travelled to the other end of nowhere to enlist the help of the Kraken, Lord of the Oceans. The Kraken told Tom that if he was clever and courageous, he would discover on his own how to defeat the evil shark and free the water babies. So Tom and his friends, helped by a polar bear and a walrus, decided to bomb Shark Castle with massive splinters of ice and huge frozen snowballs. Jock and Claude fought the shark guards, and Tom cleverly trapped the rest of the villains inside the castle. Then the bombing went on until the entire shark kingdom was destroyed and all the water babies were freed. And how they celebrated afterwards.
Hi, Cockalorum, we did it in the end.
It's thanks to every one of you, my very special friends.
Och, not at all. Sure, we had a ball. A real old Highland friend.
And I must insist, I wouldn't have missed all this for anything.
It's a victory for decency, for daring and decorum. Ooh. It's magnifique, it's fantastic, it's
Hi, Cockalorum.
Whoops.
Hi, 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 Cockalorum. Hi, Cockalorum. Happy to be your company. It's hi, 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 Cockalorum. Hi, Cockalorum. Friends forever are sticking together. Hi, 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 Cockalorum. Hey, 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 we're on the way. Hi, Cockalorum. Hi, 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 Cockalorum.
After their victory, Tom and Toby were transported by the Kraken's power back to Yorkshire, where they became once more a sweep's apprentice and his grubby dog. They were caught by Grimes and Masterman, who made Tom break into Hartover Hall, for the scoundrels were still determined to rob the squire of all his valuable silver. But Tom outwitted the villains brilliantly. They were captured by Sir John and sent to prison. Tom and Toby were welcomed into the squire's household, and life became altogether much happier for them. But only Ellie really believed Tom's story of his undersea adventures with Jock and Terence and Claude and the water babies. Perhaps it's only children and the young in heart who have the imagination to believe in magic